elections in Kenya, which is supposed to be in August 8th next year. August 8th next year, Kenya goes for the national elections, in which, of course, the contenders are the current president, who is well known, with his deputy, Ruto, the son of Jomo Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta, will be contending, and then on the other side of the opposition, there will be Raila, who is the son of Ondinga, and then obviously there is Kalonzo Musyoka, and then there is Moses Wetangula as the main guys. But there will be other people from the opposition too that will probably come in and declare the candidacy. But for now, things are a bit sharp in Kenya, because what is happening, as we mentioned last time, there is an issue with the Boundaries and the Election Commission. The opposition won the IBEC boundaries, and wants the International Commission for Boundaries and the Elections in Kenya to be actually disbanded, because, as they say, the IBEA cannot be all that much independent. And the reason why they say it's not independent, like we mentioned, they say the government has an advantage because those people who are in the commission seem probably to be people who will probably in an election root for the government and make sure that they win. And there have been protests all over, especially the opposition areas, when they've been trying to get into the offices of the the Commission for Election and Boundaries, trying to make sure that they don't operate as normal. And one of the things that we find very interesting is that when people start having a conflict this early in the election, then there is a problem, because somehow this cannot go on that way. Because if it goes on that way, out of people fear that Kenya may come to elections with a lot of ethnic tensions, which are not good and are not very conducive to an election that is fair and free. Because normally what will happen during conflicts, people take advantage. And in most cases, the opposition does whatever it does, but anyhow, the government takes an advantage, because when there's a conflict, obviously they are the keepers of peace. They use the forces, the security forces, to ensure that certain outcomes that are preferable to them we will probably follow. But we want peace in Kenya. We don't want an election where people go fighting again on ethnic lines. I personally have said so many times that the so-called ethnicity that is negative, or tribalism, is stupidity. Because when you look at the composition of Kenya, we come so far, we've mixed so much, that the whole issue of fighting based on ethnicity doesn't make a lot of sense. The politicians all the time tend to bring us all together and to start identifying ourselves with our mother tongues, and therefore they take advantage of us. We start fighting each other based on that. And the assumption is that the person who speaks my mother tongue is the person who needs power, so that if they get power, then I'll be in a good position to eat and to share in the national resources. It does not follow that way, because it's not necessarily true that when a certain individual gets in, all people from that particular ethnicity benefit. there are people who have never benefited from the Kikuyu regimes or regimes that have been led by Kikuyu throughout the years, starting with the founding father Jomo Kenyatta, followed by the recent Kibaki regime, and then now the Kenyatta the junior Kenyatta regime. In that actual fact, if you go to the index of poverty, you find a lot of Kikuyus at the very bottom of that scale. Same thing can be said to be true of the Kalenjin. It doesn't mean that every Kalenjin, because Moi was there for more than a quarter of a century, 25 years ruling, and probably more when he was the vice president, it does not necessarily follow that every Kalenjin benefited from that, and that you cannot find any Kalenjin living in poverty. There are so many of them who live in poverty, and that just shows us the usage of ethnicity as a tool in voting and in elections is very dangerous, especially those of us who do certain things that benefit politicians to get elected, like getting into violence acts of killing others who don't belong to our mother tongues, or who we are conceive or perceive not to belong to our ethnicity. So let's be wise. As Kenyans and as Africans, let ethnicity take back seat. Let's look at policies. Follow people not on ethnic lines, and not vote on ethnic lines, and not fight. That's the most stupid thing for a person to do, to fight on tribal basis. Because after all, everybody belongs to a certain ethnic community, especially in Kenya. Most of us are mixed, and because we are mixed, we find it very difficult sometimes to get involved in this stupid sort of warfare or violent acts that benefit certain politicians. So let us face the elections and that process by seeking justice, but at the same time not let justice be crowded by ethnicity. It's Naomi Kera from the studios of WFTB 1420 Scottsdale, Georgia, discussing elections in Kenya. May Almighty Creator grant us peace and unity. Thank you, and be blessed.